Hello everyone, welcome back to Uplatz. My name is Prithviraj. I'm a technical trainer with Uplatz. In this session of Express.js Part 1, we will discuss about how to work with Express.js, which is very important and famous web framework for Node.js. So let's begin with what is Express.js. Express.js is a fast, assertive, essential, and moderate web framework for Node.js. In simple terms, it is a web framework for Node.js in order to work with web applications and mobile applications. We can assume Express is a layer built on the top of Node.js that helps to manage a server, and we can also work with different types of routes. Basically, we use Express in our real-time coding related to middleware server, where we can start working with APIs, microservices, etc. And do remember, Express is a server-side framework, or we can also call it as a backend framework. So we cannot just compare Express with the client-side frameworks like React.js, Angular, and Vue.js. So this Express complete scenario is different. We cannot compare with the client-side frameworks. And if used with the client-side frameworks, if we use Express.js with the client-side frameworks, where we can build sophisticated or full-stack web applications very easily. So that's one of the main advantage of Express.js. And once we go with Express.js, we can easily start building our web applications. We can easily start building our APIs. We can easily start working with databases, etc. And whatever the concepts we have discussed so far in Node.js, all the concepts we can include in this Express.js. So Express.js, it is not built on any other technology except it also belongs to Node family only. And that's about a small introduction on details related to Express.js. And now we will see why we need to use Express, because building a web applications with Node.js is very easy if we take Express.js web framework, and it is used for both server rendered apps as well as application programming interface APIs or microservices. And it is very lightweight, fast, and it is an open source. You can simply download that using npm tool or some other tools, and it is open source, and that is a third party API we can download for free of cost. And we have a full control of request and response objects. Moreover, it is a popular node framework which is called as a web framework, and it is great to use with the client side framework as it's all about JavaScript only. And what are the prerequisites in order to understand this Express? Knowledge of Node.js is enough, and basic knowledge and advanced concepts of JavaScript is necessary to understand this Express. So basically, in this Express, we'll be seeing how to work with the different types of methods, how to start the server, how to make our server resulting on different types of client requests, how to handle different types of HTTP methods, and how to make our application interacting with our backend database, how to create APIs. So that's what we are going to do in our sessions with respect to Express.js as a part of Node.js tutorial. And when it comes to installation, we know how to work with npm tool, and as a through npm tool, we can use the command called as install followed by the name of the package which we want to install. So let's quickly open the command prompt and first install express.js. So back to command prompt, and now I'm going to create a folder with the name express. Okay, our folder name, I'll make it as express underscore js, where we are going to develop our applications inside of that folder express underscore js. And let's change the directory to express underscore js. And now let me quickly generate a package.json file which is used to manage the dependencies with our applications which we are going to develop now. And let me go with the option npm init -y. So without asking any questions, it is going to create a package.json file. Okay, let me open the command VS Code, which is pointing to Express folder. And now we have package.json with the basic details inside of package.json like name, version, description, etc. Fine, now let's see how to install Express.js using npm I for install. I want to install Express.js globally. If required, we can install locally. So Express -g indicates we are going to install Express globally in our machine. Click enter. So it started installing Express server. Fine. And now we are done with the installation. Since we installed globally, it is not appearing here. Okay. If I remove this -g option, it will install locally. And you can monitor in the package.json, the dependency will be updated. So by default, it will consider develop this production dependencies. You can see here dependencies. Under production dependency we have a dependency called as Express, and the latest version it installed is 4.17.1. And if you want to check at the latest versions of Express, so I'll show you the official website from where you can get or where you can go through the APIs related to Express.js. So the official website is expressjs.com. This is the official website expressjs.com. And you can see from the official website 4.17.1. So that is the one we are using in our application. Go back to VS Code and you can see the latest version 4.17.1. And you can see here fast, unopinionated, minimalist web framework for Node.js. And if you want to go through the documentation, just click on API reference 4.x. And here we have some list of options how we can work with Express, and how we can create a server, and how we can start listening to client request, and how to send the response. And we can send different types of responses like a JSON response, HTML response, etc. And now here in the documentation we have all the options and all the basic things which are required in order to develop and to learn the Express. So, and we have a static also. We have different types of functions, router, static, text, URL encoded, etc. So basically the static speaks about how to serve static files. And here in the documentation, we can go through this documentation to get much knowledge. And whenever we stuck somewhere in our project, we can open this documentation and go through different types of syntaxes and examples to get much grip on this Express.js framework. And once again, I repeat, the website name is expressjs.com. So back to our presentation. So once we are done with installing Express.js, we will see now how to work with the basic route handling. So before going with this, I want to take a minute to explain you first how to import Express module, and how to create a server and start, or how to make my server listening on particular port number. Back to VS Code. Once we are done with the installation, let me create one more folder, one more file with the name. I'll go with index.js. This is my file name. We'll go with extension.js. Okay, this is the file name where we are going to create our Express server. So first let's import using the require function, import Express. So let me store that reference inside a variable Express. Once we are done with that, Express dot we'll go with the, okay, that's it. Express will initialize that, and let's store inside a reference variable app. And back to our official documentation, expressjs.com. And now we can see here, go to API reference. See here, this is the way to initialize Express. So we need to just call that function Express. That's more than enough. It will start initializing that Express. So let's also set the port number on which we want our Express server to be listening. I'll go with the port number 5000. Save this. And now we will make our Express listening on this port number. And moreover, we'll just display the confirmation message to the end user. So we'll display this message: server listening on port. That's it. Fine. And now let me create a log function. Okay. Constant log equal to console.log. Fine. And now back to command prompt. Let me clear the screen. I'll go with the nodemon followed by the name of the JavaScript file. And now we can see server listening on port 5000. And this is the basic skeleton to create a server and make our server listening to client request. And now using this app reference, we can start listening to different types of HTTP methods. So I'll explain that once I'm done with this presentation. So let's see how to work with the basic routing handling. So basic route handling. So handling our requests or routes, whatever it may be, it is very simple with Express framework. And we can also gain access to parameters, query strings, moreover URL patterns. Express has a router, so we can store routes inside a specific or separate files, and we can start exporting them. So we can make use of import and exports, etc. So no need to mix the complete coding, no need to mix the complete routes inside the main file. We can separate business logic, API logic separately. And if required, we can perform the customization also. And moreover, we can parse incoming data with a built-in middleware called as a body parser. So from latest version of Express, we have a body parser middleware which is inbuilt. And if you are using before versions of Express, we need to separately install that body parser separately. So basically, this body parser is a built-in, this body parser is a middleware function which will allows us to parse the form data, and moreover, we can start working with the file uploading and all. Fine. So that's about basic route handling with respect to Express. So let me explain this basic routing with an example so that you can feel much comfortable. Back to VS Code, and now I want to handle a client request whose URL is nothing but localhost 5000. That's it. It means on this app, since I want to go with the HTTP get method based request, I go with the method called as get, where first parameter is name of the URL. So I will go with just a forward slash, and second argument is nothing but a callback function with the request and response objects. So in this way, we can have control over request and response objects. So once the client give the request using the URL patterns like this, http colon forward slash localhost colon 5000, that's it. If end user clicks enter, and this get method with this URL pattern will handle that request. And now let's send a simple message to the end user on requesting this resource. So we can directly write the HTML as a parameter for send. So let me go with welcome to Express.js. So this is the message end user supposed to get. Back to browser and give the request localhost 5000. Click enter, and now we can see the message welcome to Express.js. And we can also work with the styles, so not a problem. So color I will go with the blue, and I want text to align in center. Fine, save this, refresh. Okay, 1 second. We make use of string or template string. Refresh, and you can see welcome to Express.js. And this is how we can handle get method based request. So here we are just sending the HTML, one line of HTML, one line of HTML code. If required, we can send direct HTML file itself. And now let me show you how to work with that. So first let me import the module called as a path. So import using require function, we are importing the module called as the path. And now instead of sending this one line of code, when end user is requesting using the first let me set that endpoint or URL pattern. So if end user is requesting for a contact using the URL pattern localhost colon 5000 slash contact. So I want to send contact.html as a response to the end user. And now here on this response object, I am going to call a method called as a send file. So here I want to uh, go with the current folder name using underscore underscore dir name. Finally, public. So public is a folder where I'm going to keep our HTML files. So I'll create the public folder now, and inside of that public folder, I'm going to create one more file with the name contact.html. So path.join. So it is going to join the directories and files. And now we are actually sending the HTML file contact.html as a response to the end user. And before executing this application, make sure we have a folder called as a public. And inside of the public, we have one more file called as contact.html file. And now let's view one piece of code with the title contact page. And here we will just use a message contact us. That's it. Back to browser, refresh, and give the URL contact. And now we can see the HTML page is a server now. Instead of sending one line of HTML code or multiple lines of HTML codes, we are directly serving HTML file as a response. And this is how we can serve static files, HTML files. So we have a lot of approaches to do that, and this is one of the approach. Like example, if we have different types of files under public folder, like I'm going with index.html. So with the basic skeleton, I'll make it as index page, and just one piece of code, index page. That's it. And we'll also keep training.html with the basic HTML skeleton, with the title training page, just one message, training. So we'll go with one more page. We will make it as login.html. So title will make it as login page. Just one line of code. Login here. Let's save this. And now we can access different types of files under public folder. For that, back to index.js, we need to make use of middleware functions. And now, before proceeding with this example related to middleware, back to our presentation. Now, let's see what is Express middleware. Middleware functions are functions that have access to request and response object. So basically, these middleware functions, they are functions that have access to our request and response objects. And we have different types of middleware functions available in the market. So Express has built-in middleware, but some middlewares also comes from third-party packages as well as the custom middlewares. So basically, what are the responsibilities of this middleware? So we can execute any code. We can make changes to request object. We can make changes to response object and the response cycle, or else we can call next middleware in the cycle. And now let me show you how to work with a different, some of the most important middleware functions in our Express. So back to VS Code. So example, let me comment out these things. So app.use, and this use is a method where we can use different types of middlewares. Now I'm going to work with a middleware called as express.static. One more middleware function, a built-in middleware function to handle static files. So this express.static, I'm going to work with the join function from path module. So underscore dir name. I want to go with the folder public. And now onwards, we can start accessing the resources from this folder called as a public. Back to browser, and once I give the request localhost 5000, and we can see index page is served as a response. What is this index? This is a HTML file, index.html file. By default, Express will look for index.html file. That is the reason we got output immediately as soon as a request for localhost 5000. Or else explicitly we can specify the HTML resource name. And now we can see we got index page. And now when I request for login.html, I should get the message login here. When I use training.html, that particular HTML page will be served. And we also have contact.html, contact.html, and we can see it is serving from this public folder. Whatever the resources we have inside of that public folder, it is serving. So you can have different types of resources present inside a public folder, and it is up to you, up to your project requirement, how you want to handle that. So this line number 12 speaks about how to handle the static files. So in our case, we are handling different types of HTML files. And so let me show you how to work with one more middleware function. So let me create one middleware. So I will name it as a logger. So where it is going to log at what time we got the request and what is the what HTTP request method we have used, like what is the URL pattern, etc. So I'm going to take a middleware function where it is going to accept the request response object and next object. And now here I want to just monitor. As I said, the middleware functions has access to middleware functions have access to request and response object. According to the point, let me use request.protocol, which will give us uh, what protocol we have used for that request. And moreover, colon forward slash. We will go with request dot get followed by the host name, and we'll also go with request dot original URL. Fine, that is original URL. Okay, let me close this here. Save this, and now let's call the next middleware function in the cycle using next function. So you can monitor here as soon as I request for any resource. Example contact.html, click enter, and now we should be able to monitor here. 1 second, let me restart. And just we'll make use of that middleware function logger by using app.use logger. That's it. So now we can monitor here as soon as the end user access for end user request using any of the URL pattern. Okay, still I did not get that. So let me check what's the problem. App.use logger. Okay, cool. So let me make this here and give the request contact.html, and you can see here localhost 5000 and something we got undefined. Let me cross check original URL. Okay, spelling mistake. Back to browser, give the request localhost 5000 slash contact.html, and now we are able to monitor. So still I got undefined. Let me check original URL. And fine, now we got localhost 5000 slash the URL pattern contact.html. So let me remove this. Fine. And now let me also keep track of at what time we got that request, or at what date and time that particular request is arrived. So if I use login.html, 1 second. Okay, let me restart the server. So once I give the request, and you can see http colon localhost 5000 login.html, and I want to also monitor at what date and time we got that particular request. So for that, I'll make use of a third-party package called as a Moment. And now let me install Moment package using npm install. The package name is Moment. And now once we are done with the installation, let me import the Moment package. Fine. Let me store that inside a variable Moment. That's it. And now here we'll make use of Moment package Moment dot format. That's it. Save this. Just run our server. Give the request. Example login.html. 1 second. It's not a function first. Okay. Just refresh. Now we can see we are able to capture the current date and time. At what date and time we got that particular request. So in this way, we can make use of middleware functions in order to perform different types of operations. So now instead of making this middleware function, instead of mixing this middleware function in this particular index.js file, we will separate this logic related to this logger middleware function inside a one more file. So I'll create one more folder with the name middleware. So inside of that middleware, okay, this is a folder. Let me drag it outside from the public folder. Under inside middleware, okay, let me delete this once again and create a folder with the name middleware. And under middleware, I'm going to write a logic. I'm going to write a file with the name logger.js, where we are going to keep the logic related to logging inside of this logger.js. Fine, and let's import that using module.exports. First, let's export and import that inside index.js. And since we are working with the moment module also, let's import that moment module inside the logger.js. And let me make use of log function console.log. Fine. Back to index.js. Let's import logger here. So required. So from current working directory middleware inside of that logger.js. And let me make use of app.use logger. That's it. Save this back to browser and give some request. Like I'm going to give the empty request. Okay, might be server did not restart it seems. Fine. And now we got index page, but we are unable to monitor that. We are unable to work with that logging it seems. 1 second, let me restart with the request, and now we can see. So request is given at so and so time, and that's about working with middleware functions. So we have seen how to work with middleware functions in Express.js, and now we are done with how to handle the basic routing and how to work with the middleware functions and all. So that's about what I want to discuss. Few points related to Express.js. And before ending this session, I would like to show you one more example where our Express can handle JSON files, or sorry, JSON data. So far we have seen how to send HTML lines of code, and we have also seen how to serve static files. Now I'm going to show you how to serve JSON data. So we know what is a JSON. That is nothing but a JavaScript object notation, and which is very much important in our real-time projects. So JSON is just a format to represent our data. Fine. Now, when user is requesting for app.get, so example API employees. When user is requesting using this URL pattern /API employees, so it is going to take one callback function with the request and response objects. I want to send a JSON as a response. So we can go with the JSON function on response object. If I call JSON function, so I will just keep one JSON object. Welcome to employees API. Save this back to browser and let's do the request API/employees. URL pattern or endpoint API/employees. And yes, we can see the response is in the form of JSON, message, key, and value. So let me open Postman once. So let me give the request using this URL pattern API/employees and port number 5000. Okay, let me don't save. Let me close all the existing tabs which are already open in Postman. Fine. Now let me give a new fresh request localhost colon 5000/API/employees. And since it is a get method based request, I'll go with the method get here and click send. And now we can see the response in the form of a JSON file. Fine. And that's about how to work with Express.js and how to make our Express.js sending or serving different types of files. And this is about sending a JSON as a response. Moreover, we can send uh, built-in. I mean, we can also customize that. We can send some other JSON files. So in our case, I just in this example, just I have sent a message with some value. And now let me show you how to send some array of JSON objects. So let me go with array of JSON objects related to employees. I'll go with employee ID 1, employee name, would be employee city, go with the Bangalore. Okay, let me write in a more understandable way. Fine. So this is what I want to represent, and moreover, I want to also represent email ID. So prithvi@gmail.com. Okay, let's repeat this for 4 more employees. Fine. We'll go with employee ID 2, employee ID 3, and employee ID 4. The total we have 4. Go with one more 5. Total we have 5 employee objects with unique IDs, unique employee IDs. Okay, let me quickly change their names also. Praveen, Praveen@gmail.com. Go with Smith. So city, I'll make it as a Hyderabad. Smith@gmail.com. Ricky, go with Goa. Ricky@gmail.com. Okay, Manasa, Manasa@gmail.com. Fine. So we have a list of employee objects now available. So I want to send this employees list of employee objects as a response, nothing but a JSON as a response. So we just simply pass this employees object as an argument for this JSON method. So back to Postman, and when I click on the send button, and now we have a list of JSON objects, array of JSON objects as a response. And actually, instead of hard coding all these values inside of this index.js, okay, let's remove from this index.js and keep it inside a file with the name employees.js. Employees.js. So, okay, let's paste here and let's export this first using modules.exports equal to employees. And now in the index.js, let's import that employees. And we can see the clear separation for each and every file. So employees equal to require function employees. Save this. And now let's give the request once again. Localhost 5000 API employees. Okay, 1 second. What is the error we got at line number 7? Fine. Okay. Actually, the file name is wrong. I used the capital E. So the current working directory, employees, capital E. So back to Postman, let's do the request once again. And now we are able to see array of JSON objects. And you can see it's very easy to manage the coding. Even only the important coding we have inside index.js. Everything is managed with different types of files so that we can easily manage different types of files. We can easily manage different types of dependencies. And this is how we can go through Express.js web framework by working with different types of syntaxes and by working with the different types of methods. So in this part 1 of Express.js, we have discussed all the things related to basic routing and related to middleware functions. And moreover, we have seen how to serve static HTML files and how to serve JSON files. So thank you very much. Catch you in the next tutorial.